If you put me in the spotlight on a stage in front of thousands of people, I can play music, I can sing, I can even dance half naked. But as soon as you give me a microphone to speak into, that's when I freeze. This is why I created this podcast. Welcome to Embody Your Wild. I'm your host, Karolyne LaFortune, and I'm an embodiment guide. I'm a mother of two, I'm a studio owner, and I'm here to have real conversations about how to tap into your wildness or erotic power, into your aliveness. Let's fucking go. I've had my business for going on 10 years now. I own a studio called Embodying in Ottawa, and this is a sensual arts and pole dance studio. And so this is why I created this podcast. I wanted to dive into how I got to where I am today and how it feels like to be in front of a microphone and talking. Even a couple years ago, I was like, there's no way in hell that I would even start a podcast. I'm like, I don't know what to talk about. I'm just awkward on camera. I feel like, what am I going to say for an hour? And who the fuck cares about what I'm saying? And this is kind of what I've realized with this now. It's like, I'm actually not doing this podcast because I want to make money. I'm here to challenge myself. I'm here to grow and evolve as a business owner and as a human. I was a professional musician. I was a burlesque dancer. I have been on stages since the age of 3. And so the performance aspect of it makes me feel really comfortable. I was playing violin in multiple bands. I was a live session musician. I've been on tour across the world. I've been on tour as well across the Arctic in Canada. But I was always an accompaniment. I was never the lead. I was never, I'm a violin player and I sing harmonies. So it's not like I was my band that I was going with. I was always joining somebody else's band. What I've noticed was throughout the years, whenever I was handed a microphone to speak into, that's when I felt like shit got real, where I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. I'm just freezing. If somebody asks me a question, I'm kind of like just in my head, super anxious, super scared, and just like, what am I going to say? I would even host showcases at the studio when we'd have performances. I'd hire somebody to host it. But then at the end of the night, I felt like because I'm the studio owner, I need to go up there and give a speech and say something, talk to all of the people that have showed up to my event. I'd have it written down and I'd just be like, oh my God, this is so uncomfortable. This is so scary. My hand with the microphone would be shaking. I would just be like, thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. Buy a membership, basically. And it was bad. If you have been to those showcases and have seen me speak, like it wasn't great. It took some time to get to this place of where I am now to actually starting my podcast. It's only been in the last, I'd say, year or so that I've been doing little steps here and there to actually learn to use my voice. And this has been something that has been on my mind for so long. And I just know that there's such a strong connection using your voice and the body. So this is where I wanted to step into that power and really face that fear and move from there. I wanted to step outside of this comfort zone, push my edges, and just really talk about the real shit that people don't talk about and how to embody yourself, how to step in and come home to your body, to feel and to just like, and that ease. The idea of starting a podcast years ago, I was just like, oh my God, ew, why would I even do that? And I just feel like the last couple months, it's been calling to me to be speaking to a microphone this way and expressing myself through my voice. Because I've expressed, I can express myself through my body, I can express myself through other ways, but this is something that was a big challenge for me. And I remember even at my wedding I got married in 2018, just reading my vows in front of people was pretty nerve-wracking. And I was like, again, with the microphone in my hand, just shaking. Or no, I think they were holding the microphone. I was holding the paper, and I was like having trouble reading this paper because I can't even, talk in front of a of an audience. And so I have this vision of myself in my 40s, and I'm 35 now, where I'm on a stage in the spotlight in front of thousands of people and being a public speaker and just talking about whatever's on my heart, whatever's in my being, and making an impact for women, because I just feel like this is a way to tap into a different part of myself, a different way of really stepping into my power in this way. And by using your voice, this has a strong connection to your womb too. So we'll chat about that in another episode. But where I'm getting at is that we are using our body as authority. We are listening to our intuition. We are tapping into our erotic power and really bringing awareness to all of our felt senses, living through our senses, and not just everything that's, the external senses like touch, sight, hearing, taste, smell, but everything that's happening on the inside. So really feeling into the emotions. So when we're feeling sad, where do we feel that in our bodies? When we're feeling angry, what's showing up for us in our bodies? And the more we can tap into those indicators, the more that we can actually start to embody our wild. And that's what it means, because it means to be a sovereign being. It means that we have this power where we don't have to outsource our decision making to other people. Where if you're like, you ask your friend to go shopping with you and you're like, I want to get the red dress, but I also like the black one. Which one do you think looks better? And then maybe she's like, the black one's better because the red one just makes you look super pale and bleh, and like a ghost or something. Who knows, right? And but then you're deep down, you're kind of like, oh, I really like the red one, and I feel like I can own it, but I don't know if I can. I'm just gonna listen to her because she knows better, right? So it's always trying to like get that external validation of, am I making the right decision? And not just the validation, but also, how can I choose this for myself? And obviously I care what my friend thinks, but it's to the point where I'm like, I really like this, so I'm going to own it, I'm going to buy it, and it's going to look great, and I'm going to feel fucking fantastic wearing it. That's the kind of energy that we want to feel into. And this goes beyond just shopping with your friends. This goes to all of the decision making, all of the anything that you have to execute, anything that you have to do, to feel in your life. This is where we can really tap into that wildness inside of us and connect back and come home to your body. We can come back to our full expression. And expressing ourselves doesn't mean just wearing, I don't know, colorful clothing and doing your hair differently. It can, if that's how you feel, but it's more than just what it looks like. It's really about embodying what it feels like. And is this bringing me pleasure? Is this making me feel more powerful? Is this bringing me more confidence? And by doing these things, yes, sure, the external things can help, like getting a haircut or doing your nails and whatnot, but it's really about how it feels on the inside. And that's really what this whole podcast is going to be about. It's having real conversations about what does it mean to embody your wild? What does it feel like? And I know this is hard to say because we are doing it in a talking manner instead of a felt experience. But you can always join me at Embody Pool to feel it. Coming back to embodying your wild, it's really tapping into that primal energy. and that erotic energy within. So the erotic energy is really us feeling alive. It's feeling that fire, that passion, that turn on, and not just sexual, but for everything, just for whatever lights you up in life. So instead of just constantly living in stress and in pain and in a lot of contraction and tension, how does it actually feel to expand and open up your body, to soften? And this is not tapping into weakness. This is a strength. Like when we think of softening, when we think of the feminine, this is often thought of as just the shriveling in and maybe just surrendering and being passive. But this is where most power lives, is in that expansion of the body, because this is where we can actually start to let our guard down. We can actually start to just feel more, take on more of those sensations and be able to hold them. And embodying your wild is also just living in the moment, having presence with yourself, with other people, with all of your relationships. So this is why I started this podcast, was to embody this part of myself that I felt like needed to stop hiding. I felt like using my voice was a block for me. It was definitely scary. It's definitely been challenging to get to this point. But honestly, this has been such an amazing transformation. Even just being here and talking right now, this is something that I could have never imagined doing even a few months ago. This basically how I started to use my voice. Friends would send me voice notes, or actually even before voice notes, I would say that I would do some client calls. And at first I was like, oh my God, this is nerve-wracking. This is crazy shit. I don't like calling. I don't like being on the phone. Everything sucks. I'll just text them instead. But what I've noticed is that by doing phone calls, you're actually creating more of a connection with your clients or with other people. And I've actually started calling my friends now instead of texting them. There's one person that I chat with weekly on the phone for like every time. It's always like over an hour, and it's been great. And this is where the connection piece happens. But I digress. But let's come back to, just doing phone calls at first. This was something that was really scary for me. And then after that, that's kind of where I started receiving some voice notes. So I was in a group business coaching program, and they would always drop some voice notes. And at first I was like, okay, I'm just gonna, text back. I'm not gonna leave a voice note. This is just super scary. And then eventually I was like, I felt silly because it was all voice notes and then me with text. And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? I need to just fucking do it. And so it started off very small with like sending just voice notes of like, yeah, you go girl. That's great. Keep going, or whatever it was, right? Words of encouragement or little things like that. And then eventually that kind of grew into longer voice notes. And now I'm like, it's so much easier to just do a voice note than it is to text. And I actually prefer that now than I used to back then. And then I would even say leading circles at the studio, teaching my classes, has also helped me with using my voice, because not only am I talking about the space, I'm talking about myself. I'm doing like a 20-minute speech sometimes at the beginning of class, just explaining the breakdown, explaining what we're going to do, explaining just what it means to be here and the deeper work that we do at Embody Pulse. This has definitely helped me to use my voice a little bit more. And now I just see like, okay, how am I going to bring this vision into reality of speaking on a stage in a few years from now? We'll see. And so that's kind of why I wanted to start this podcast. I wanted to share my thoughts, my feelings, and just having real conversations with women. Because I strongly believe that we need more community. We need more just women-only spaces. We need to just be talking about these things instead of hiding away from them and feeling ashamed for not being able to share how we truly feel. And embodying your wild is also embracing the whole human experience. So not just living in your pleasure and having all of the orgasms and all of the things, but it's also embracing the parts of you that feel anger, that feel disgust, that feel like that maybe there's a bit more tension there. So by tapping into our womb energy, by tapping into our voice, by tapping into our erotic energy, and just really listening to your body as authority. This is your body's telling you messages. So it's kind of like whenever you're driving and you have your music on full blast, but you forgot to put your seatbelt on. So your car is beeping at you and yelling like, put your fucking seatbelt on, right? Beep, beep, beep. I know my car does that and it's annoying. And so instead of putting the seatbelt on, you're like, I'm just going to turn up the knob a bit. So I just stop hearing it. This is the same kind of thing that we're doing with our bodies. We're trying to bypass the signals that it's trying to tell us. And by maybe turning down the volume, we can start to hear this beeping going on. And so this is kind of where we are noticing that maybe there's pain or there's tension or there's like just something that feels stuck, something that feels just duh, or even it's something that's manifested in some illness or autoimmune disease or anything like that, like some chronic pain. And so this is our body's way of telling us that we need to start to listen to it. We need to start to tap into those sensations and slow down and start to turn the volume knob down. And because now it's like you're having a conversation with your friend in a library where you're like, I can clearly hear what you're saying, instead of trying to yell at a metal show when you're like, what? I'm going to the bathroom. What? Right? So this is what Embodying Your Wild is. This is going to be a podcast about having these real conversations, and I'll have some guests on. I'll do some solo episodes, and I'm really excited to be starting this new journey with podcasting, because it's definitely something that is new. Is this going to be an amazing podcast at the beginning? I don't know, maybe, but I'm doing this for myself, to push myself and to really just feel into that new part of me that needs to come out. That's been my journey so far, with learning how to just create, how to push myself a little bit more and push past that fear and anxiety around speaking in a microphone. Like, I've definitely done some podcast episodes before where I had been a guest, but sometimes I felt very heady, like the energy and the flow wasn't there. And then there's been other episodes where I've been a guest and I felt like, oh yeah, I nailed it, that was great, it was just flowing. And this is kind of where I'm trying to find this balance with this podcast. And I'm also a fan of long form content. I've been really wanting to bring that back. I love watching YouTube videos. I love listening to podcasts. I love listening to audiobooks and reading books. And I just feel like this whole lifestyle now is just way too quick for what my body can handle. And I definitely noticed that. Like, I just came back from Costa Rica and I noticed the shift of, like, before leaving, my body was in such contraction of stress and just trying to keep up with everything that's online with the social media. And I actually ended up taking a full 2-week break from work, not even really checking in, being fully present with my family. And that was such a nice reset for me, because now I feel like my whole body just went, and it ended up releasing all of this stress, all of this, the shit that I was carrying. And so this is what I want other women to feel, and not just because we're trying to keep up with the speed of life, but just to bring it back to how can we just enjoy being in the moment? How can we be present? How can we embody our wild? This is where I felt I was disconnected before. I was just living in high tension, high stress, and taking this trip, taking a reset, taking time for me actually filled my cup. So now I can actually come back to work, do this podcast, and I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. Let's bring it. And my energy has just been through the roof now. Also, it helps that I'm ovulating. But I just feel so much more energized. I feel much more alive. I feel much more in my body. And during this trip was interesting too, because I was able to surrender to a lot of things and creepy crawlies in the jungle. Like, we found 2 scorpions one in each Airbnb that we stayed at. And before, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? This is not, like, I can't die right now. And then just learning more about nature, learning more about these creatures, learning more about just being in the jungle, being in somewhere that's completely new, that's completely foreign. Everybody speaks a different language. And it took some time to adjust. But once the last week or so, I felt like I really dropped in. I really connected to where I was, this beautiful country. And that's where I could really feel myself connecting to that primal energy, connecting to that wildness. I was literally in the jungle, and we were sleeping. There were monkeys right by our Airbnb that woke us up and dropped some mangoes on the roof. And I could just hear them like yell. And this is the feeling that I want every single woman to have, is to be able to, and what I'm saying is not, you don't have to go to Costa Rica to embody your wild. What I'm saying is that this can happen inside of your own body at any point in time, anywhere in the world, anywhere that you are. It doesn't matter if you have kids or not. Like, it doesn't matter. Where you are right now is how you can start to tune into this energy. This is for the woman who feels disconnected to her body, to her power, to her erotic energy, to her sensuality. This is really for the woman who wants to come home to herself. She wants to feel different. She wants to make these changes in her life because she's read all the books, she's gone to therapy, but what's next is just feeling into yourself this way. If you felt that in your body, even just a little shimmer, send this to a woman who needs to feel this too. And if you're ready to step into embodying your wild, you can join me at Embody Pole in Ottawa. We can also do one-on-one. And I'm running a women's retreat in June 5th to 7th. This is actually called Embody Your Wild Retreat. So we'll be tapping into that erotic power, the voice. We will be really feeling into those practices. There's also a private chef, because I truly believe that nourishing your body throughout this whole experience with high protein meals, with just delicious, delicious food. And so this is going to be such a sensory experience just with food. And we're also doing a photo shoot. So this is going to be a boudoir photo shoot that's included in the retreat. This is where you can expect to see gorgeous, gorgeous photos of yourself in the wild, along the water, on the lake, could be in the forest, and really capture that essence from doing the full weekend of transformation, and then the photo shoots on the Sunday. And we'll really capture that wildness within. And this is going to be at a private luxury waterfront chalet. There are 2 women that have said yes already. Right now we have 6 spots left as I'm recording this podcast. I cannot wait to host this. We have a couple months left to go. This is going to be such a transformational weekend, not even having to lift a finger and just fully be in receive mode and just feel that connection to your body, feel that shift, feel that drop of, and then noticing how you feel afterwards. And then we'll capture all that beauty in a photo. And there's going to be so much more amazing things to do there. So I really hope you can join me on the retreat. I will see you in the next episode on your energy.